Hello and welcome to the Two Man Booth, your weekly scheduled podcast on the crazy world of professional wrestling. With me, Jonathan.
And me, Adam. And we will start this week as we always do with the news. And I think the first thing we need to talk about, given it is Double or Nothing weekend, is the fact that Dean Malenko has officially joined AEW in a behind-the-scenes role. Basically, he's going to be a senior producer and a coach for the company, and I think this is an amazing pickup for AEW.
Yeah, this was something that we predicted, wasn't it, when we saw that Malenko had left WWE, and it just made sense. Malenko being involved in any capacity is going to help AEW. First off, as a coach, that's going to massively help. Any way he can be involved in the training of wrestlers and the development of wrestlers and their in-ring skills and psychology is brilliant. You know, the man of 1,000 holds, just one of the best in-ring technicians that wrestling has ever seen.
Yeah, without doubt.
And he'll be nothing but a strength for AEW moving forward. I think it's a really, really good pickup for them.
And sticking with the AEW theme, we've seen a blitz of social media and viral sort of videos and content this week from the company as they really go into full-on plug mode for Double or Nothing. And the one thing that came out of the Road to Double or Nothing episode from this week was the fact that they announced that their first world title match will take place between the winner of the Casino Battle Royale and the winner of Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega.
Yeah, do you have a feeling that Adam Page is going to be in that Battle Royal now?
I'm not sure because they haven't announced everybody, so there's definitely going to be some surprises because not all 21 slots are filled.
Ooh, yeah, good point.
But Page could definitely be one of them, and that could be the way they get around to things. Other than that, I don't know who in that Battle Royal I think is ready for that level of shot yet, but we will see.
Could be someone who's the voice of the voiceless.
Could be, but I don't see that happening. Yeah,
I know, I agree. I'm just making fun of you.
But either way, an interesting one to see exactly what direction they're going to go in for their first title match.
Totally, and we've seen like the smallest portion of the title belt that we can possibly have seen, but things do look really promising, really promising. There's a lot of buzz going around about AEW, and I know we are massively looking forward to seeing that show more than I've looked forward to a WWE pay-per-view in a very long time. Not NXT, but WWE.
Super excited for it. And we also have more good news on the Ric Flair front, which is good to see. He has been discharged from hospital. He posted a tweet the other day saying, "The nature's home. Thank you to all the incredible staff and doctors at Gwinnell Medical Center. Once again, I'm so thankful for all my family, friends, and fans for all the love. At this time in my life, I never take it for granted. I will be back up and wooing in no time." And that is just awesome to hear.
I love the Niche Boy. I don't want to talk about this much because we've talked about it a lot in the last few podcasts. All I'll say is it's just great news, and we're all glad that Rick is fighting fit.
And the last piece of news for this week revolves around not the great show we've just been talking about in Double or Nothing, but a show that kind of makes my skin crawl in WWE's Saudi show. So it has been reported that 4 wrestlers will not be appearing on the show. Kevin Owens, who obviously is very close to Sami Zayn.
Yeah, that's for political reasons.
Yeah. Sami Zayn himself.
Because he's got Syrian descent.
Yes. Aleister Black, which was kind of an interesting one.
Is that to do with tattoos?
I have no idea what it is with Black.
And maybe the satanic nature.
Well, it can't be because Randy Orton appeared there last year and will appear there this year. So it mustn't be tattoos. It could potentially be the satanic kind of gimmick, but I'm not sure Saudi Arabia actually pay enough attention to that to care.
Could just be a political decision he's made.
And similar to last year, Daniel Bryan will also not be there, and his reasons for not going are exactly the same as they were last year, in the fact that he didn't like how Sami Zayn was told he couldn't go to the first Saudi show.
Yeah, he's only done the Greatest Royal Rumble, hasn't he?
Yeah. And with that, I think we will move on to Monday Night Raw.
Hooray!
We opened with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman.
Hooray!
Brock was sort of carrying the briefcase like a boombox, which was moderately entertaining. Heyman hyped Brock as Mr. Money in the Bank and says paranoia is now running through the WWE. He runs down the conspiracy of Sammy's attack and Brock taking his place to win. He says that the WWE and Universal Champions should be afraid because they are vulnerable to Brock Lesnar. Paul then says Brock could show up anywhere, like live events. The dude doesn't even show up to TV.
Live events.
He doesn't even show up to TV every week, but apparently he's going to cash in at a live event. Rollins then comes out and says he should be in a great mood after beating AJ last night, but he's not because Brock's here. He's an inspirational champion and tells Brock, cash in tonight. Heyman says Rollins needs to play Brock's game, and it's all about anticipation. Paul then sort of mocks Seth for waiting for his girlfriend to headline Mania, which was a bit of a below-the-belt shot. And Paul claims Rollins isn't worthy, and maybe Brock will decide to cash in on Kofi. And this, of course, brings out the wild card, Kofi Kingston.
Ugh.
Old gimmick there.
Awful.
Yeah, Kofi says he has to beat the best, and says if Brock is cashing in, he might as well cash in on Kofi. Paul says we have the two top champions in WWE both auditioning for a match against Brock. I hated that line. Way to make your champions look less important than Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, but well, that is, I'm pretty sure that was what they would have been going for, though, because Brock is the center of the universe in WWE.
Paul kind of teases that they were not done, and since they were going to be, the Kofi and Rollins would probably have a match later, that Brock and the contract weren't going anywhere. This was kind of, I think, just a ploy to try and keep people watching.
Yeah. Please, please, please don't leave.
Yeah.
Don't leave us in droves.
We then saw Sami Zayn backstage asking Lashley for help with Braun, and Lashley refused. And then Triple H caught up with Rollins and Kofi and said that they will tag up the night to face Corbin and Lashley. Inspired matchmaking.
Yeah, because what they haven't realised is that these tag matches as the main events are not drawing people to stay around, and people do not care. If you notice, they've done them so much lately, and the ratings are bad. Like, at least give fans something at the end of the third hour that's worth sticking around for. Ooh, will Brock cash in or not? When anyone in their right mind knows that obviously Brock is not cashing in. Does not make people stick around. Bearing in mind, especially who they were facing in the main event.
So we then had Braun Strowman versus Sami Zayn. Well, you know what? Braun hit a power slam and he won.
Burial 101.
Yeah.
Like, Sammy's been getting momentum.
What, 30 seconds did this go?
Yeah, Sammy's been getting momentum, and it just sucked. Like, don't get me wrong, right? In no way should Sami Zayn be going, back and forth with Braun Strowman, but don't make him look like a geek. He's a good heel. He's been doing some really good work lately. Arguably one of the better heels on WWE TV, apart from Charlotte. And Brian. Give him a shot.
Yeah, stupid idea.
Give him a mid-card title.
You mean try and make somebody else a star? Idiot.
Yeah, Brock's a star.
So, Rude Interviewer came out to interview Lars Sullivan. She is clearly more hardcore than Kayla Braxton because she does not run away scared. She asks him about his path of destruction, and then they throw it to a video package. Lars kind of laughs, and then Lucha House Party arrive. They attack and swarm Lars, sending him to the floor, and then they hit dives, but eventually Lars gets the better of them, and they run away.
This just sucked.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's the Lucha House Party. Nobody really cares.
It's just that it did nothing for anybody there.
Yeah, I would probably not have even given them anything against Lars. I would have just had him destroy all three of them again.
Like, the main thing is, we talked, didn't we, on the last podcast about how this feels like the same kind of thing that they did with Brock and the Hardys, and it was 2002. But the problem is that the Hardys had credibility in 2002.
I think the match was Insurrection 2002 as well.
Yeah, Lucha House Party have absolutely no credibility at all. If it was a tag team that had, like, a little bit of credibility but could take this and not be damaged by it, then that would work. Because the Hardys were bulletproof by that point.
True.
This doesn't feel like that. It just feels like a guy beating up on three guys every single week. Like, give him a proper feud.
You know what? I'm going to give WWE a little bit of credit here. and not for current day WWE, but I hated Ryback, but I thought how they built Ryback over the
Perfect.
course of a year was fantastic.
I agree.
And you know what? They just had him come out there and squash jobbers. Guys who weren't contracted, guys who weren't going to lose anything by getting the crap kicked out of them by Ryback. And he came out and he destroyed people. And you know what? He got over. It was very 1980s booking.
But he got over.
You know what, though? It worked and it got him over. And it got him to a point where, looking back, and I can't believe I'm going to say this,
They should have put the belt on him.
they should have had him beat Punk.
Of course, they should have at Hell in a Cell. They should have, yeah.
He was so over at that point, and when he
totally
lost to
agree.
Punk, it really, really hurt him.
Oh, it was like a pop in a balloon.
It was.
Like, Ryback sucked. Like, we all know
Oh, he
Ryback
did.
sucked. Awful in the ring. Awful on his promos.
Dangerous.
Yeah, unsafe. But the character was over. And when something's over, like Braun was so long
Run
ago.
with the hot hand.
Yeah, like Braun was so long ago. Like, they never put the title on Braun. Look what's happened. When someone's hot, run with them.
Best example of this, and I can't believe I'm giving them credit, is 2012 TNA. They had built a storyline that was building for almost going to be a full year to do James Storm versus Bobby Roode at Bound for Glory, where James Storm eventually beats him for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. And all of a sudden, because they'd also built Austin Aries so well in the X division, he got so hot that they decided at Destination X, you know what? He's gonna go over. He's gonna become world champion. And what followed sucked because Ace isn't it. But they went with the hot hand because it was the right thing to do, even though they had this long-term story planned out, and they still did it. There wasn't the title on the line at Bound for Glory, and it was still awesome. The problem was that they didn't capitalize on the hot hand they had, but they had at least ran with it.
Yeah.
The WWE didn't in 2013, and now with Lars, you can't keep putting them in the same situation with the same guys and just watching them beat them up every now and then. At least with Ryback, it was different jobbers every week.
And they upped the odds against him, so like it would be him against two guys.
Yeah,
and
him
he
against
would
three, I think, at one point.
and he would like double shell shock them and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
And then eventually they moved him on to lower card geeks, the same way they're kind of doing with Lars here, but he quickly got past them as well, and then all of a sudden quickly ascended to the main event.
He got so over that he very quickly got to Punk.
I've got a very funny feeling that this is not the last time we will see Lars Sullivan versus the Lucha House Party.
No.
And that's not going to do anything for Lars Sullivan.
Nope.
Anyway.
Good booking's good booking. No matter when it, like you said, it's a very 1980s booking, but good booking's good booking no matter what you do.
Good booking doesn't stop being good.
No.
Yeah. Next up, we had a really good sort of 6-minute TV match between Ricochet and Cesaro. Ricochet was all sort of taped up. I think WWE's going to run out of Kinesio tape if they're not careful.
Yeah, I think so.
He was all taped up from the Money in the Bank match, and Cesaro finally has a new theme, and he has a new graphic as well,
Great.
and I quite like it.
Same.
Yeah,
It's not the ambulance.
No, the first time I heard it, I wasn't sure, but I've listened to it a couple of times since, and I actually think I quite like it.
I liked his original one.
Yeah, so did I.
Like, I
actually.
don't know why they changed that. I thought it was. I mean, obviously, I know it was character based, but they changed it, and it never needed to. It was great.
So Ricochet posts Cesaro and follows up with the kickflip moonsault. Cesaro then caught him when he went for a plancha and slammed him on the apron. We came back from break, and Cesaro had grounded the action and was working the back of Ricochet. Ricochet escaped though, hit head scissors and followed up with a tope. Back in, and Ricochet flew into an uppercut, and Cesaro followed with a backbreaker, and then the Gotch neutralizer followed for the pin and the win. This is as good as a 6-minute TV match as you'll see. Whether Ricochet needed to lose or not, I've seen a lot of people complain about it, but at the end of the day, and this isn't really a defensive WWE, but they're clearly not going to do anything big with Ricochet. They've clearly lost total interest. The shine's come off the shiny new toy for Vince ever since Ricochet and Black split up, and he just doesn't seem to really care about him all that much. There's a guy that lost to Robert Roode a few weeks ago. Now he's losing to Cesaro.
It's just awful. Isn't
Both
it?
guys are great. Both guys deserve more, but I find it hard to put in enough energy to hate on this.
It's just awful. Like Ricochet is a star. He really is. At the very least, he's like your awesome workhorse babyface mid-carder. At the very, very least, like he has the potential to be far, far more. I like that Cesaro's getting wins because, as we've said in this podcast before, I still see all that potential in Cesaro, and I like these picking up wins. I just don't see why it had to be against Ricochet. Obviously, they had the caveat of, Ricochet being taped up from the Money in the Bank match. And if this maybe becomes a feud moving forward, I may not mind, like a competitive feud on Raw, that would be quite cool. I just feel like Ricochet actually needs a proper feud to get his teeth stuck into.
I'm not sure it's going to be a feud, but I definitely, right now, would predict that we see Ricochet beat Cesaro on Monday Night Raw this coming week.
Yeah, that's because 50-50 booking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we get a promo from AJ, and he kind of says he's back to square one. He lost to Rollins fair and square, but he knows he can beat him. And then the charisma vacuum that is Baron Corbin tips up to take the mickey because he lost. And then Styles mocks Corbin for his entire career, which was fair.
Good.
Corbin reminds us that he pinned Rollins, something AJ couldn't do a few weeks ago on Raw. So AJ slaps him, and Corbin walks away saying he'll pay. Riveting stuff here on Monday Night Raw.
I was thrilled.
Yes. The big dog arrives. He's a wild card.
Again.
Shane arrives to interrupt him.
Again.
Shane says he's the best in the world and proved that by beating The Miz.
Yeah, because that is the very definition of being the best in the world.
Yeah. He's now done with The Miz. Or if only that was true.
The feud that will not die.
And he is now focusing on Reigns. Reigns says he hates spoiled rich kids and his schedule is clear. Shane says Elias isn't finished with Roman and Roman wants to fight him tonight. Shane says he fought in a brutal steel cage match last night. He teases accepting the challenge, but then refuses. He says he does what he wants when he wants, and then he brings out Drew, and then books Reigns versus Shane at WWE, Saudi Arabia. Give us your money, please. Thank you. We don't care about morals. That's the full title of the show, just FYI.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hooray.
Yeah, so we're getting Roman versus Shane in Saudi Arabia.
Man.
I'm so disappointed that I'm not going to watch that show.
I cannot wait to skip past that.
I'm not watching the show, so
No.
I'm so disappointed that I'm missing that awesome Roman Shane match.
Oh, man. No, that'll be like
I'm devastated.
catch as catch can classic, that.
Absolutely.
Like
I mean,
a slobber knocker.
Carl Gotch, eat your heart out.
Oh, man, yeah, like Keiji Muto, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kazuchika Okada will be gutted he couldn't wrestle Shane.
I mean, this is essentially the Okada Flair dream match we've always talked about.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
Just the nightmare version of it.
So Roman says Shane will get his backside kicked, and he can believe that. This was
Awful.
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 Yeah.
This is exactly what we said in terms of the doing 3 steps forward, 2 steps back with Reigns. Like putting Reigns now into a feud with Shane, who appears to be getting less and less heat every single time he comes out because his character just sucks now. Like the heel turn's been awful. It doesn't work. Just make Shane go. Like if I was writing, Shane can't really believably go babyface again now. So if I was writing, I would be now thinking, right, how quickly can we write Shane away?
If I was writing right now, I'd want to retcon the whole show and just start from scratch.
Yeah.
Just reset everyone.
Just reboot.
Yeah. Do a Russo show.
Dear
you know,
me.
the 2 times he took over in WCW where he just did a total reboot.
Yeah.
It's what I'd do with Raw now because I think it's beyond
Do
saving what they've
you think
currently
it's
got.
that bad?
Yes. That it needs a total reboot.
That's a rebooking series that,
Oh God, I don't want to reboot this company.
Book the reboot episode of Raw.
Yeah.
What do you do to recover as much interest in 1 week as you can without making it all illogical and pointless and stupid?
I'd say we do that for
Like a soft
Monday's
reboot.
coming podcast for the Double or Nothing show, but I've already got something planned, which
Yeah.
I'll reveal to you, because you don't know, and the audience at the end of the show. So stick around for that. So we see Drew and Shane backstage when Miz tips up. Drew sort of growls at him in his Scottish psychopath voice, because that's the best nickname ever.
The Scottish psychopath.
Yeah.
Did I do my best Michael Cole there?
That was more Vince, but whatever.
Okay.
Miz says he will take care of Drew and then Shane. And then we came on to, by far and away, the best thing on this show.
The finish. We're at the end.
No. Well, that was probably the best thing on the show when the show ended. But the best thing actually in the show, we saw the worst feud of 2019, the Usos versus the Revival. And you know what?
It was awesome.
The match was great.
You can't keep good wrestlers down.
Yeah. So Revival attacked before the bell and they ran wild for a while. They sort of double teamed Jay on the floor and then followed up with quick tags as they got the heat. They isolated him in the corner and then Jay battled back and the Usos cleared the ring just before the break. But when we came back, the Revival was back in control. Jimmy again tried to fight back, but Dawson attacked, but then ate a spin kick. We got a tag to we got a tag to Jay, and he ran wild with clotheslines and then hit a Samoan drop on both Dash and Dawson. He hit the hip attack in the corner and then an enziguri and then hit a crossbody for 2. Dash then battled back, but he got cut off up top and Jay followed him up. Dawson then tagged in and the Revival hit sort of a powerbomb elbow drop combo for 2. And then Dawson followed up with strikes and they traded a bit before Jimmy tagged in and then double super kicks followed by for 2. Dash then DDT'd Jimmy on the floor, but Jay hit him with a dive, and Dawson got a roll up for 2. Jimmy followed with a super kick for 2, and then Dawson got a roll up with the tights for the win. This was about, did the score about 15, I would have said?
Around that.
Something like that, but it was really, really good. Great tag match, and you know what? If they'd actually done no story, I would have been super pumped for this, but I was sat there and it took me a good 6 to 8 minutes to get into the match, not because it was bad, and when I rewatched it I realised it was actually really, really good, and one of the best TV matches we've seen this year, but the feud has been so diabolically awful that it took me out of the first 6 to 8 minutes of this match.
Also, why is this feud not for the title? Like, because generally, like, where are Hawkins and Ryder?
Who cares? Where are the War Viking people, whatever the name is this week?
People from Scandinavia?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cruise line people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Scandinavian Surprise?
Yeah, where are they at?
No idea. Scandinavia?
Yeah, maybe. If I was them, that's where I'd be heading.
Or NXT?
So Alexa is backstage with Nikki, and she's upset that Nikki lost last night. And then the Revival kind of tipped up and celebrated. It was a weird segment.
Yep. What? A weird segment on Monday Night Raw? What?
And then we got Bray's Firefly Funhouse. He wants us to let him in. I'm not letting that creep in anywhere near me. So we then got a moment of bliss with Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Alexa said she arrived prepared so she wouldn't lose her gear again, and then she demanded a coffee. And she gave Nikki the empty one despite having 2 because she poured them all into her cup. Alexa then brought out Becky Lynch. She welcomed Becky to the show and then makes Nikki move away from her. So I don't think this partnership is going to last all that long.
No, I don't think so either.
The Iconics tipped up and mocked Becky for losing one of her belts. They were awesome as per usual.
Nauseatingly brilliant.
Yeah, Becky tells them to shut up, and then we got Lacey coming out as we got the revolving door segment. Lacey takes credit for Becky losing to Charlotte. Becky runs her down for wearing her granny's clothes and for tapping out the Money in the Bank.
That was good.
That was a funny line. She can now focus on her completely, which I didn't like that line. Like, Becky should be annoyed rather than like, I can focus on you. And I know she was annoyed, but I just didn't like the line about, I can focus on you completely now.
Yeah, it was badly worded. I think it was sort of meant more in like this sort of idea of like, I had to split my focus, now I can just focus on you and I'll beat the living daylights out of you. If it had been worded a bit differently, it would have come across much better.
So Nikki offers to team with Becky, and Becky told Alexa just to stand there and look pretty. So Alexa took her coffee to the ring, which I know amused you greatly.
That was funny.
So it was Becky and Nikki and Alexa Bliss in spirit versus the Iconics and Lacey Evans. So it was a bit messy early on, to be honest, but then Nikki tagged in and things got okay. She headed up top and hit a crossbody for 2. Peyton then cut off Nikki and tagged in Billy, and they double teamed for a while. Lacey came in, hit a corner dropkick, and then Peyton got a cover for 2. Peyton grounded things, tagged in Lacey again, and she grounded things and sort of trash talked to Becky. The heels continued to isolate Nikki, and then Nikki avoided a charge and tagged in Becky. Becky ran wild as Lacey just disappeared for reasons. She hit the Bexploder and then headed up top and hit the missile dropkick, and then the second rope leg drop got the win. Like I said, it was messy for the first maybe 60, 90 seconds, something like that, because this only went 6 or 7 minutes, but once it got past that, it actually got pretty decent. It was an okay tag match, and it served its purpose. Nothing to write home about, but it served its purpose.
The working was okay. The problem with me is that effectively Lacey, the number 1 contender, probably still to the Raw Women's title, and the Women's Tag Team Champs lost what was effectively a 2-on-3 handicap match.
Well, let's face it, the Iconics have been dropping L's more than Hogan in 2000, so...
Yeah, it's shocking.
Yeah, what a surprise. So we then got Mick Foley out to reveal the new WWE title. Not the new WWE title, the newest title in WWE. I should phrase that correctly.
The hardcore title, I mean...
Minus hardcore.
Without the hardcore bit.
Yeah.
So without all the stuff that kind of actually made it cool.
You see, did you like the belt? Because I hated the belt.
Right, I don't think it's half as ugly as some have made it out to be, but I would never design a title to look like that. Yeah. Like, it looks very plain and very rushed. Like it doesn't look like an intricate design or anything like that, and it's just not unique.
So Mick wants to make Raw, R-A-W, Raw again, which was weird.
Yeah.
And he says it takes a lot to become a champion in WWE, and even more to become a legend.
Jinder Mahal was a champion. It doesn't take that much.
Well, whatever. So the title can be defended anytime, anywhere, in any place, but it has to take place in the third hour of Raw, apparently.
So it's 20... So it's just 1-2. It's basically 1-2.
No, it's 1-1.
No, because it's going to be on SmackDown.
Yeah, but that's not the third hour of Raw.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This made no sense. Like, they said it was 24/7, but they then said it was only in the third hour. But then, as we will find out on SmackDown, people were running around looking for R-Truth.
60% of the time, it works every time.
60% of the time, they make sense, none of the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, we opened up we had a match. Can I call this
We
a match?
didn't have a match. We had what was called a scramble. And what it basically was is that the first person to pick up the title became the champion.
I'm not going to describe this, to be honest. Titus...
There was one cool thing.
Titus picked up the title.
The one cool thing was Cedric did a springboard lariat onto...
I can't remember who it was.
Unnamed person, 82. And Mojo was there, and there was no screaming into mirrors. I was very sad.
Yeah, but Titus won anyway. It was a complete mess. My question to you is, was this better or worse than the infamous reverse battle royal in TNA? In terms of stupidity. It didn't go as long, so I guess in that sense it was better.
Wasn't as...
But in terms of stupidity, of just like the first person to pick the title up is the champion.
It wasn't as stupid as that, so...
It was almost the same thing.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It didn't come across well, and the crowd was like, it was crickets throughout and the crowd gave it heat as soon as they realised it wasn't the actual hardcore title.
Then Robert Roode pinned Titus to win the title straight away, and then he ran away as people chased him backstage.
Yeah, but like stalled and then ran away. It was very strange.
So we get Drew versus Miz next. Shane is at ringside. But by the way, did I totally get the previous segment wrong? Because when I saw the Shane Roman thing in the ring, I thought it was Roman versus Drew. I knew we were getting Shane versus Roman, but I must have created something in my head because I was convinced we were getting Roman versus Drew. And then Miz did his thing earlier where he said he was going to kick.
No, that's what they said.
Them both in.
That's what they said.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That just occurred to me.
I don't know whether we're having some kind of like Mandela effect moment here where we're both misremembering something, but I genuinely thought it was meant to be Roman versus Drew.
I have heard rumours Raw was being written as the show was going on.
Now I'm shocked.
Again.
You mean something of this caliber was written as the show was going on?
Shocked.
Yeah, I can't believe that. Anyway, this was just...
Dull,
but you know what? It was relatively well worked. I just find it difficult to care.
And how does Drew need Shane in order to beat Miz?
Yeah, whatever. So...
The booking of Drew is so inconsistent.
The early portion was not great, but it got good towards the end. Miz hit some awful-looking Daniel Bryan kicks, and then followed with a Hurricane Rana. Miz, yes. Drew then counted back and hit the inverted Alabama Slam 4-2. Miz went back to McIntyre's knee, which he'd been working, but McIntyre fought off the figure 4. Shane hit a cheap shot on Miz, and then McIntyre hit a spinebuster for 2. He went for the Claymore, but Miz countered it and locked on the figure 4. Drew sort of chopped him and got out of the hold, and then Miz sent him to the outside. And Shane then cut Miz off, and then Drew hit a Claymore, and that was it. Like, the match, the work was fine, and actually, considering I'm not a big fan of Miz in the ring, and I'm not a big fan of Drew, period, this was way better than it had any right to be.
It's just
But
dull.
it's just the Shane interference, and just like
why does
I'm
Drew...
so sick.
Like, why does Drew need Shane in order to beat Miz?
Why does Shane need to be there?
Shane needs to be written off TV. He's become like
he's the worst
a
thing.
vacuum. He's become anti-joy. Anti-joy.
He is the worst thing on the show.
Yeah, he is comfortably.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because I really liked Shane when he was, the babyface commish for
So did I.
SmackDown. I thought it was great, really refreshing as well.
So after the match, Shane set up to go for coast to coast on Miz, but Roman made the save and took out Drew. Why? You know how in WWE nobody has friends?
Yep.
Yeah. Why are Miz and Reigns somehow the best of friends?
No idea. Just no idea.
They've got no reason to be great friends, but these are apparently the only people in the world who have friends, and it's each other.
Yeah, Miz and Shane.
Yeah.
That's like Miz and Roman.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, like about a year ago,
They hated each other.
They hate each other because it was during the Miz Shield storyline.
Yeah.
Logic.
Yeah. So Kofi and Seth were interviewed backstage about the main event. They say they know Brock is still here, and nobody likes Lashley or Corbin. Like, what? This was as uninspiring a Seth Rollins promo as I've seen in a long time. The one thing I do want to say, which I really, really wish I'd said at the time because I should have said it in the opening segment, Rollins' promo was full of fire and was really, really good when he came out to Brock.
Yeah.
And then we got this uninspired, just awful promo backstage.
Watch the third hour. It's so much fun.
So they then talked about Ray's controversial win, we'll call it, over Joe at Money in the Bank. They say Ray suffered a separated shoulder after the match. Joe then says he was never pinned and never lost his title.
True.
He knows Ray is honourable and will give Ray an opportunity to hand him back his championship. If he doesn't, imagine the example Joe will set, and we'll find out what's going on with the US title next week.
I cannot wait for that.
Yeah. So Rude runs and hides in Truth's trunk. Truth then tricks everybody else who's running after them and makes them run in a different direction, and then pins Rude to win the title. Inspirational.
This was like everything that was fun about the hardcore title.
Minus the fun.
With the fun taken out.
Yeah.
Anti-joy.
Yeah.
I didn't actually hate it though. I didn't hate it. It sums up everything that is going on with their company at the moment, in that actually what they're doing is not necessarily wrong. It just lacks creativity from top to bottom. I don't necessarily mind them bringing back, some kind of hardcore 24/7 title. I never minded the idea back in the Attitude Era. I thought it was quite cool. I thought it gave guys that didn't get on TV a reason to get on TV. The problem is that there's just, it's the segments they're doing are not creative. Do you remember how fun the hardcore title stuff used to be?
Crash Holly in a airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And an X-ray machine. It was genius. This is just, it's very uninspiring.
Yeah.
And it just sums up how much they lack creativity right now.
And speaking of inspiring and creativity, we had our main event. For some reason, it was no DQ. Did they explain why?
No, never.
I didn't know whether I just missed that one.
Hunter didn't say it at the start of the show either.
So Corbin and Lashley attacked during Rollins' entrance, and they got in the ring, and Corbin hit a deep 6 for 2. Lashley took out Kofi, but then Rollins fought back and tagged Kofi in, who ran wild and hit the boom drop on Lashley. He hit a springboard crossbody for 2, and then Corbin cut him off, and the heels worked over Kofi, and then when we came back from break, they worked over Rollins. This was not very inspiring at this point.
Nope.
But Rollins hit a sling blade, but then Corbin cut off the suicide dive and worked him over on the floor. They then isolated Kofi and worked double teams on him, and they took him to the top, but Rollins made the save with chair shots. He then ran wild on the heels, hitting super kicks, and he went for the stomp, but Lashley cut him off. Kofi dumped him to the outside, and then Corbin. So Rollins hit a suicide dive, and then Kofi flew and wiped out the heels as well. Back in, and Trouble in Paradise finishes Corbin. The one bit of credit I will give them for this is how they're booking Kofi at the minute.
Really
because I don't want to say he came in as a bit of a joke champion, because his story was good in the build-up to Mania.
But he needed extra build.
And he had an awesome match. But for so long, Kofi has been mid-card personified. And there's nothing wrong with that, but he has been. So for him to be taken seriously as WWE champion, he needs to be protected and he needs to be booked well. And you know what? He's going out there and he's beating people. He's beating them clean. And he's not just beating geeks and he's not just beating losers. He is beating Baron Corbin, who, for better or worse, has pushed us a major part of Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
He's beating, Sami Zayn, as we will see on SmackDown when we get to it. He's beating Kevin Owens. He is being pushed and booked quite well in terms of him getting big wins over big people.
And credibility. I totally agree. The match itself, though,
not great.
Not great, no, not ideal. And for the third hour, when you're trying to keep people around, not good.
I wouldn't say it was bad. It was just like, again,
not
just
good,
uninspired.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, but it was not good.
Yeah. So after the match, Lashley speared both champions and then Brock came down and teased a cash in. But Heyman said we would have to wait until next week, which made what Heyman did on SmackDown make no sense. But whatever. So next week on Raw, what is your prediction? Because you predicted this when we saw Brock win Money in the Bank. So I will throw it to you and you can tell us what you predict will happen next week.
Right, well, I think the obvious thing is that Brock's going to cash in for a shot at Saudi Super Show, Super Money, Super Nonsense, No Morals, Super Show.
Yeah. Cool.
That seems obvious.
Wait for that.
And pointless, because Brock never needed the Money in the Bank ladder match contract in order to do that, because he actually could have just said, I want a rematch, Rollins, and Rollins would have probably gone, yeah, okay, I'll beat you again, but I won't low blow you this time.
So the Brock tease may well have worked for Raw this week, because when we look at viewership, it was actually up. It probably was a combination of that, the tease of Brock potentially cashing in throughout the show, and the fact that it was the sort of show after Money in the Bank, which always tends to pop a bit of a rating.
Yeah, and what was going on with the NBA playoffs that night as well?
Do nothing.
So they had no competition.
Yes, exactly.
So there we go.
Yeah. So it ended up doing 2.52 million viewers, like I said, up 7% from last week. It was the best the show has done since the start of the playoffs, but obviously there was no playoff game tonight,
no game.
or that night. And even with the push of the 24/7 title, as we found out, and the tease of the cash-in, the third hour was still down 14% from the first hour, which is not great. Not a massive drop-off in comparison to what they have been getting.
Still not good, though.
You know what's weird? Like, when we were growing up, and even up until about 2 or 3 years ago, the third hour of Raw was generally the best-rated hour of Raw.
Yeah.
Or the final hour of Raw, if you were to go further back than before they had 3 hours.
Yeah, the final hour was always the better one.
So it's weird that it's now become this huge draw-off point for them.
Because 3 hours is too long to sit and watch TV.
And
wrestling in particular, it's just too long.
They weren't down a massive amount either from last year, because last year they did 2.66 million, and this year it was 2.52, so not too shabby. And with that, we will move on to SmackDown Live. This was another show that occurred this week. We opened with Elias and Shane, and Elias said he lost at Money in the Bank because he put all of his energy into his performance. Really? That was all of Elias's energy into that performance?
That was, yeah.
Yowza. So he was emotionally drained after the negative fan response. He apologised to Shane, and they sort of made nice, but Shane said Elias will need him tonight. Because he's having a match with Roman Reigns. So when we said what they did with Roman and Elias on Money in the Bank was perfect, we get the rematch tonight.
Which didn't need to happen because he beat him so fast.
Yes. So then we started with, we kicked off the show proper with New Day. Kofi and Xavier arrived and said, Big E is back. And they bring somebody out, but it's not Big E. And they dismiss him, apologise to the fans, and then the real Big E is introduced. And he does the big sort of, I don't know where they were, Rhode Island maybe.
Don't you dare be sour.
Exactly, yes. So he's back, he's got a knee brace on, but he dances and he's happy.
So it was cool to see Big E back.
There's presence in the ring, and Big E smelled Xavier's hair, which was weird, and Kofi's pits, which was even weirder. And then he basically said he missed everybody and he loves Becky's mum. This was a weird segment.
Yes, it was the New Day in a nutshell.
So Kevin Owens then arrived, and so did Sami Zayn, so I guess he's a wild card again. And Sami mocked the New Day and is offended that he never got a celebration when he returned. They promise him nothing, just like Owens got at Money in the Bank. Kevin then leaves, and Sammy was upset about this. Sammy says this whole thing is disgusting and ran down the bootios and the pancakes and everything about the New Day. Xavier kept interrupting him with the trombone, and Sammy says that tonight, the night will not end in fun for Kofi when Sammy beats him.
This kind of happened.
Yeah.
It was cool to see a Big E back, but it was not a great opening segment. It kind of dragged a little bit for me.
205 Live GM is looking for R-Truth. And Carmella finds R-Truth wearing a wig and warns him that everyone is looking for him because this title is prestigious.
Yes, all of the jobbers are looking for you.
Yeah. And you know what? They've not explained why does anybody want this title?
No, there is no reason.
Because we were talking before we did this podcast when we were setting up, and I was saying if they'd given it a reason,
yeah.
For example, if they said something like, because the third hour thing was weird, right?
Yeah.
So why don't you say, yeah, it's a 24/7 title and you can still do goofy stuff. You can do goofy stuff on YouTube or WWE.com where you post videos of people chasing R-Truth throughout the week or whatever. But if you say that on the third hour of Raw every week, you will defend the title if you are the 24/7 champion, it gives people a reason to want the title. Right now, it's a joke title, and I don't mind that. I know some wrestling critics have had a go at the fact that it's a bit of a joke, but it was always going to be a joke title, and the hardcore title was kind of a joke title for most of its run.
But it was a fun joke.
But it was a fun joke, and you could tell why people wanted to be hardcore champion. I don't know why anybody wants to be 24/7 champ.
No.
So,
it would make sense that it would be the jobbers that would be going for it as well, because they want to be on TV.
Exactly.
Because God, Cedric Alexander needs to be on TV.
Yeah.
Because why he's been brought up, I have no idea.
You say the same thing about Buddy Murphy.
Or, in fact, pretty much most of the NXT people.
Yeah. So, Truth is confused about the rules of the title. Yeah. It was comedy. It was fine.
Yeah.
We then had Ali versus Andrade. This was fun. I liked this a lot. So, I don't know why I was surprised because these two are so good. Andrade sort of controlled the match a lot for the early portion, but Ali battled back and hit a dropkick. He then hit a tornado DDT and followed with a suicide dive and then a torpe. Back in, and Ali is favouring his back after all the beating he's taken from Andrade. Andrade sent him into the barricade. Ali barely beats the count in, and then Andrade attacks him with stomps. And then they get back in, and Andrade hits the rolling suplexes. He then slammed him into the buckles, and they worked back the floor, and Andrade sent him into the barricade. Andrade laid in chops, and then threw him into the ring post. Andrade hip-tossed him into the timekeeper's area. Ali again beat the count, but Andrade hit the double knees and covered for two. Ali then got a cradle and gets sort of the stereotypical sort of out-of-nowhere cradle victory. And again, I've seen some people sort of not like this because they said it made both guys look bad because Andrade dominated Ali for so long of the match and then lost, so it made him look bad for not being able to get the job done, and it made Ali look like he got a fluke win. But for me, I didn't feel that way. I thought it showed that Andrade is a top caliber performer, but Ali can beat you if you're not careful. I think this worked for both guys, and it was a really fun match.
Same. My thoughts were exactly the same as yours. I thought it was a good match, and I liked the finish. I have no complaints.
Yeah. The only negative thing I would say is because Andrade is facing the Demon at the Saudi show.
Yeah, because he has to use it now and not for the Money in the Bank contract.
Why is he losing going into an Intercontinental Championship match?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'd say. But in terms of the match itself, in a vacuum, it was fine.
Yeah.
Carmella is backstage with Truth again, and she's helping him with his disguise. And then we got Mandy Rose versus Carmella. Yeah. Like, I like
Rough.
Mandy, but, like, why is Carmella wrestling? Like, she's fun with Truth. Just leave her to do that.
It's literally all she has to do because she's really fun.
Not everybody has to wrestle. Carmella's a great personality, and her and Truth weirdly work really well together.
They do.
And they have this weird chemistry, and every time I see them, they're entertaining.
Yeah. So just leave it like that.
Don't let her wrestle. She's not good at that portion of the job, so don't have her do it. Play to her strengths. So anyway, Mandy rolled up Carmella for two, and then a load of people came down and chased Truth, and he ran away, and it ended in no contest.
This happened.
Yeah, why?
It didn't make sense. It sucked.
We then got a promo with Bayley talking about her win at Money in the Bank and then her subsequent SmackDown Women's title win. And this was a bit different from Bayley because she said people doubted her, but she's moved past the hugs and wants the best that the division has to offer.
Character development.
We're getting an edgy Bayley, which wouldn't necessarily be necessary if that makes sense, if they hadn't botched the actual Bailey character so bad. But now I think they do need to move away from it a little bit. So
Yeah.
this was interesting, and I'm interested to see where they go with it.
I'm fine with it. I'm totally fine with Bailey being a bit more like, right, let's have some competition, then I'll show you what I've got. Like, I quite like that.
Truth continues running away from the losers.
Ugh.
Elias is playing his guitar outside. And then we find out Owens has attacked Big E backstage for injuring his knee. This was a bunch of segments that happened back to back that I just
so fast that you haven't got any idea what's going on.
Care about.
Yeah, the pacing of the show was really quite poor.
So then we got Kofi versus Sami, which was shorter than I would have liked, but was really, really good for the time it had. Kofi was really fired up and again showed that intensity that he showed at Money in the Bank, taking all of his frustration about the attack from Owens out on Sami.
I'm loving Kofi lately.
Yeah, he beat Sami down, and then Sami dumped him to the outside and took advantage on the outside. And then back in, Sami laid the boots to Kofi. Kofi fired up though and hit a drop kick. But when we came back from break, Sami was in control again. He hit a superplex and then covered for 2. But he went for the haluva kick and Kofi cut him off and then hit the running double stomp. He went for Trouble in Paradise, but Sami countered it. And then Kofi fought back and hit Trouble in Paradise anyway for the win. This was good. The only thing I'd say is, when Strowman's beating Sami Zayn in 50 seconds or 30 seconds on Raw, why is he going 9-10 minutes with Kofi, who is the WWE champion?
Because they have no idea of consistency and how to book consistently, and it just sums up all the problems with the company. In a vacuum, good match, right winner, but just doesn't make sense, does it?
Yeah. So Paul Heyman then tips up, and completely in controversion of what he said on Monday, he teased a Brock cash-in. But then Dolph Ziggler returned. This was out of left field.
Yes, it was.
And attacked Kofi. He beat him down for ever and a day, and he Pillmanized Kofi, and then they wheeled him out on a stretcher, but then Kofi fought off the stretcher and started walking towards the back. Whatever. Like, I should care a lot more about this than I do, and I don't. So it's bad.
Have you got the promo noted down as well?
No.
Ziggler cut a promo as well. And he basically said along the lines of, everything that happened to Kofi, it should have been me.
Oh, yes, I did see that. I don't know why it's not me.
Yeah. It's like, everything, like what happened to Kofi, it should have been me.
Yeah.
I actually really liked this. I really liked it. The problem is that it was Ziggler, and Ziggler has got to a point where I find him very difficult to buy into.
Yeah.
Because he's just damaged goods. But, like, I am going to give it time, because I actually really liked it, and I wouldn't mind seeing a really, like, hyper-aggressive version of Ziggler, who's bitter and twisted and out to sort of get revenge on everybody for what he's not been able to do in his career. I didn't mind it, and I actually quite liked this segment. It just came out of nowhere, but I did actually quite like it.
Didn't work for me, but I think I'm just done with the whole heel comes out and beats the babyface down forever and a day thing, and it just dragged for me. And
Ziggler's hard to buy into now.
He is hard to buy into, and especially since I'm not going to see the match anyway because it's happening on the Saudi show. So
do you remember how crazy we went for Ziggler when he was the sole survivor?
Series? Yeah. Ended the Authority's reign of terror.
Yeah, and we thought the next night we watched it together, didn't we? The night after, and we were like, man, they've got to make Ziggler look like a star here, because they did last night, and
it was a star-making performance that they just didn't follow up on. So just before our main event, we see Bayley and Becky sort of in an interview, and they tease going after each other's titles, which I wouldn't be against. So then our main event was Bayley and Becky versus Lacey and Charlotte. This was a pretty good main event, to be fair. I thought they worked pretty well together. Charlotte laid the boots into Bayley, and then Lacey tagged in as the heel sort of isolated Bayley. Bayley eventually cut off Charlotte with a knee strike, but Charlotte pulled Becky to the floor to stop the tag. Loved that. Lacey then tagged back in and laid the boots to Bayley again, and Charlotte tagged in. Bayley hits a desperation lariat, and then Becky gets into the ring and hits a missile dropkick. The Bexploder follows, but Charlotte hits the flatline at the buckles. It breaks down, and Charlotte hits the big boot on Becky. Becky cuts off the figure four, and they trade cradles. But then Becky gets to disarm her on Evans, but Evans hits the woman's right. Sorry, she got to disarm her on Charlotte, but Lacey hit the woman's right. And then Bayley takes her out and cradles Charlotte for the win. It only went about 9 or 10 minutes, but it was a really good main event. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thought it built well. And the champions sort of teased that they would face off soon.
I didn't mind this. I really didn't mind this. I thought it was a good main event, solid main event, and I'm decent end to SmackDown. Nothing amazing, but certainly nothing bad. Like, you do get the feeling they had more, but obviously it's TV time. They didn't give it.
So then we see Truth fighting off the Geeks, because why not? And then we see the promo you were talking about, actually, the Ziggler promo. So it happened at this point.
Was that when
it
was? I'd lost track of when it was.
Yeah, it was. I wasn't sure either. This is why it wasn't in my notes earlier. But Ziggler basically said what you said he said, and he said he was lucky as well that Ali got injured, and that was the only reason Kofi was in that position as well.
I quite like this.
Yeah. And sorry, that wasn't our main event either. Our main event was Roman versus Elias.
Oh, that happened too?
Yes, I totally forgot about that. So Shane introduces Elias, and then this went about 8 minutes and 10 seconds too long, because it went 8 minutes and 40, and it didn't need to go any longer than their match at Money in the Bank.
Bear in mind, it went no time at all at Money in the Bank.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was really, really boring early with loads of Shane interference and just whatever. But then it kind of picked up towards the end. Elias looked for drift away, but Reigns hit a headbutt, and they traded strikes. A Superman punch by Reigns, but got two, but Shane put Elias' foot on the ropes to stop it being 3. Reigns then took out Shane. Elias attacked him, slammed Reigns into the steps, and then they worked back in. Elias hit the top rope elbow drop for 2. Shane slid in the guitar, but Reigns spears Elias instead and pins him. It was fine, I guess, but it didn't need to happen.
No, dull main event, no need to happen. And again, good work done with Roman, and then they undo some of it.
2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah.
Shane attacked Roman post-match, and Roman fought him off, but then Drew arrived and claymored him because wildcard.
Yeah, reasons.
Yeah.
Because Drew apparently now is friends with Shane.
Apparently.
Yeah.
So SmackDown had a much better week this week in the ratings, as it nearly got to 2 million. It got 1.983 million viewers this week. And although that was only 78% of the raw audience, it was still good to see the SmackDown number rebound, because as much as we rag on these shows,
it's better than Raw.
It's not even that. We want WWE to do well.
Of course we do. We want it to be better.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of the reasons why we're looking forward for AEW to come along, because we hope that they will spur WWE on to get better, because we know how good WWE can be. We do look through it through rose-tinted glasses, but when we were kids, like, man, WWE was so cool and so fresh and different, and they've been doing the same thing for years after years after years now. They need to change. They need to shake it up. And
shake it up, huh?
Yeah, but not actually just do stuff from the olden times, like the 24/7 title. Like, come up with something new.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, we want them to do well, but these shows are not good.
No, we can't review them as being good.
We can move on to a show that was good. WWE NXT.
As always.
I loved this show, though. Like, I know you've just said as always, and this is always a good show, but I absolutely loved this show this week.
It was great.
So we got a recap of last week's tag action, and we then cut to JM Regal, who announces the War Raiders have vacated the belts and announces a 4-way ladder match to crown new champs with Lorcan and Birch against the Forgotten Sons, against the Undisputed Era team of Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, against the Street Profits. That should be fun.
That'll be fantastic. And like I've said, I think Forgotten Sons should win, and then you run with Street Profits chasing.
Yeah. Well, I would run with Undisputed Era winning and the same thing happening, but that's just because I don't like the Forgotten Sons. But I think your way is a lot more logical and likely.
Yeah, that's
definitely.
what I think.
So the Undisputed Era come out and look fully on the same page as Nigel questions whether Cole is still in charge. Cole says the Undisputed Era is going nowhere. They are stronger than they've ever been. He says they own everyone in the locker room and they will not stop until they run this place. He says very soon they will be draped in championship gold, beginning a takeover when Fish and O'Reilly regain the tag team titles and he takes the NXT championship from Johnny Gargano. This brings Johnny Champion out. Gargano says he wants something from Cole and asks him to tell the truth. He says Cole knows deep down he could never beat Gargano on his own. Cole calls him an idiot and says he won the first fall. Gargano laughs and says he guesses Cole didn't shock the school system as he seems to struggle with maths. He patronisingly explains how a 2 out of 3 falls match works. Cole loses his temper and says it eats Gargano alive that Cole pinned him in New York, and in 2 weeks, he's going to do it again. All of a sudden, a wild brawl appears as Riddle attacks the Undisputed Era. Gargano heads down to lend a hand, and they get the better of Undisputed Era until security and referees come out to separate everyone. Gargano and Riddle fist bump to end the segment. This was awesome.
Great opening segment.
You know
That's how to do an opening segment raw.
Yeah. You know what I like about Gargano more than anything else? Is the fact that he's a babyface, but he's not afraid to be a bit of a cocky person, shall we say?
Yes, words I'm not going to say.
Yes, basically. Because you know what? He's a total tool in this segment.
Yeah, he is.
You know, he's going, Adam, 2 is more than 1. And he's a total douche about it. But,
yeah,
you know what? It works.
He's a human being, is what you're saying. And we're not all nice all the time.
And he's annoyed because these people attacked his friend last week.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you be? I'd be aggressive and horrible to somebody if they'd sort of laid you out or something like that.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. He acts like a human being, like you say.
Cheers, man.
You're welcome. So next up, we had a bit of a weird, interesting matchup because we saw Mansoor take on Sean Malutas, the two guys who are usually used to elevate other people, like enhancement talent. But Mansoor shows some real nice athleticism and work early on. It was clearly a showcase for him, and he did impress. He hit a nice slingshot neckbreaker and followed it with a twisting inverted suplex for the win.
I actually saw quite a bit of potential in him.
So did I.
Keep going.
I can't remember who he was facing a couple of weeks ago, but that was when I first saw him, and it might have been Dijakovic.
I think so.
And I thought, ooh, there's something in him, and it was more in this as well. So it's good to see them pushing new talent as well, and not just guys who've picked up from the indies, because you can get talent from anywhere. It's how you cultivate it. Yeah, absolutely. So backstage, Kathy Kelly is waiting outside of Regal's office when we hear Regal screaming at somebody. Undisputed Era emerge like naughty school children who've just been to the headmaster's office, and Kathy asks Regal for an update. Regal said he was informing Undisputed Era that their conduct is unbecoming. He is the most English person that has ever lived. And a takeover, Roddy will face Matt Riddle, and tonight Riddle and Gargano will face Fish and O'Reilly. So Velveteen Dream comes out as Mauro calls him a walking Instagram filter. I'm not kidding. Dream cuts a nondescript innuendo-filled promo until Tyler Breeze's music hits and the crowd goes wild. The crowd chants welcome home. Breeze says since the Fashion left NXT, the place seems a bit dull. He says there have been cheap impersonations and knockoffs, but there is only one Prince Pretty, clearly taking shots at Velveteen, saying he's not as good as Tyler is. Dream welcomes Breeze to his NXT. He says the NXT universe wants a man, not a boy who likes playing cops and robbers. He says just because Tyler couldn't hack it on Mondays and Tuesdays does not mean he can come and share the Dream spotlight. Breeze is inspired by Dream in the North American Championship. Dream tells Breeze there is a long line and offers a selfie with the champ. Breeze obliges and says he has one piece of advice. If you put your phone number on your trunks and nobody calls, it's because they weren't interested. He then decks Dream and leaves. I didn't really get the final line about the trunks and
Neither did I.
Yeah, it was something to do with call me up, Vince. Is that what it was?
Oh, that'll be it.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I wasn't sure because that was he wore that in his tights at some takeover, didn't he?
Did.
Yeah, but anyway, segment of the week.
Yeah, I loved it.
Awesome.
Do you remember how awesome Tyler Breeze was?
Yeah. I love Tyler Breeze in NXT.
Yeah. The main roster's just clueless and useless and moronic, isn't it?
Well, you got to think, right? And I know this is not as big a thing to American fans as it is to Japanese fans, but you've got Tyler Breeze doing absolutely nothing. He's a total joke on the main roster. He's never used.
Yeah.
In NXT, he had a match on TakeOver with Jushin Thunder Liger.
Yep.
And they do nothing with him on the main roster.
Because they are useless and they don't know what they're doing.
Crazy.
But anyway, Breeze, if I was Breeze, I'd want to stay in NXT. Mm-hmm. He'd be treated like a star there, I love Breeze.
He looks like he is having the time of his life every time he comes back as well.
Yeah, I absolutely love Breeze, and I always saw potential in him.
Yeah, me too.
I always thought they should have put the title on him way back when.
So did I, actually.
Yeah.
So Kathy interviews Tyler outside. He calls himself an NXT OG. And he was just introducing Dream to an inspired Tyler Breeze.
Awesome.
We then got Candice LeRae versus Reina Gonzalez. Reina clearly took some inspiration from Stan Hansen, shall we say.
Yeah.
She could probably do with taking a bit more, though, because she's not very good.
No, she is not.
This match went about 3 minutes and still had a 30-second rest hold, which is impressive in some ways. Candice hit an awkward-looking schoolboy that sent Rain at the floor. She then set Gonzalez into the steps and followed up with a top rope diving Hurricane Rana. A violence party followed in the corner before she hit a missile dropkick and then a lion salt for the win. I love Candice, but this was rough.
This was not good. But I'm not sure it was Candice. I like Candice, but it was not good. It really wasn't good.
I think it was a mixture of both, to be honest. I don't think Candice particularly pulled her weight in this match.
No, it wasn't good.
But anyway, it got awesome post-match as Shayna and her friends surround the ring Shield style. They beat Candice down until a kendo stick-wielding Io Shirai comes out and annihilates the Horsewoman with some vicious shots. I'm not kidding you. She absolutely murdered them. Do you remember Ronda and Charlotte at the Survivor Series?
Yeah, it was like that.
It was worse than that.
Yeah.
Io hit them harder than Ronda hit Charlotte that night.
Yeah.
Or Charlotte hit Ronda. I can't remember which way around it was. But, oh, this was vicious.
It was.
It was awesome.
It was awesome.
But it was vicious.
Yeah.
And I can't...
More violence. Dario Cueto is in full support.
Violence.
Ladder match.
So the kendo stick was destroyed by the end of the segment. And then we find out that Breeze versus Dream for the North American title is official for TakeOver. Awesome.
Great.
We also have Bianca versus Mia and Kushida versus Gulak next week for TV. Also awesome.
Cannot wait.
Yeah. And then it was time for our main event as Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly took on Johnny Gargano and Matt Riddle. Gargano and O'Reilly worked some lovely mat stuff early. This one broke down pretty early, which was nice to see, something away from the usual WWE tag team match formula. Riddle hit several gut-wrench suplexes on both Fish and O'Reilly, but eventually his ribs, which had been injured by Roddy's attack last week, gave out and allowed the heels to isolate him. Riddle hit a ripcord knee and managed to tag in Gargano, who ran wild. He hit a tornado DDT, but it only got 2. Fish and O'Reilly took back control and hit Chasing the Dragon for a lovely near fall.
Yeah.
Nigel called it Chasing the Dragon on commentary as well.
He did indeed. I noticed that.
They went for total elimination, but Gargano fought out. O'Reilly takes Gargano out and hits a German of his, and then hits a German on Riddle, who no-sells it and hits a German of his own. O'Reilly responds with a rolling forearm, but Riddle bounces off the ropes with a PK, and all 4 men are down. Gargano hits a kneeling superkick on Fish, followed by a Broton from Riddle, and then the floating bro gets a near fall as O'Reilly makes a save. Gargano throws O'Reilly with a lawn dart into the V-trigger from Riddle, which was lovely. Riddle hits a powerbomb on Fish, followed by another V-trigger, but O'Reilly pulls Fish out of the ring at 2. Riddle takes out O'Reilly, but Cole comes down to ringside, but is met immediately with a Tope Suicida from Gargano. This distraction, though, allows Strong to attack Riddle and hit End of Heartache on the apron. Fish and O'Reilly follow up with total elimination for the win. And then the Undisputed Era beat down both men after the match, ending with Cole hitting Gargano with the last shot to the back of the head. Great main event.
Fantastic
Phenomenal
main event.
tag match. Loved this.
Yeah, and a great end to an unbelievably good episode of NXT.
Yeah. Still some building blocks in there, don't get us wrong. There was still building stuff, but most
great.
of the stuff that was building this week was also entertaining.
Agreed.
Which sometimes with building shows for NXT, they're a bit dull. Like even last week, I thought it was a good show, but it was a bit on the dull side because it was a building show. This was too.
But it was entertaining.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
Great stuff. And with that, I think we move to 205 Live. Our opening video package covers Nice versus Daivari from Money in the Bank. And then we open with the Singh brothers. They laugh about Lars Sullivan destroying the Lucha House Party. And because they were meant to be facing them this week, they demand the referee count Lucha House Party out. However, Drake Maverick arrives instead and says the Lucha House Party are not here tonight, but he has suitable replacement and brings out Jack Gallagher and Humberto Carrillo. Yeah. Gallagher ties Sunil up in the Paradise Lock. Yeah, the Paradise Lock.
I know, it was awesome.
But after some nice tag work from Gallagher and Humberto, the heels take control. After a pretty dull heat segment, Humberto gets a hot tag to Gallagher, who ran wild. He had a stalling suplex on Samir for 2. He locked on the half crab, but Samir managed to crawl for the tag while still in the hold. They hit a double super kick on Gallagher, but Humberto broke the pin up. The Singhs used double teams on Gallagher for a series of near falls, but he got a tag to Carrillo, who hit a rough-looking version of the Aztec press for the win. This was okay at best.
It was.
Not great, but I am interested to see what they do with Humberto and Gallagher, because I think they could be a really fun team together.
So do I. Do you think that we're starting to get to a point where they need cruiserweight tag titles?
I would say so, but
I think
again, they need a bit of meat on the division, I think, first, because I would have said before the call-ups and everything, yes.
Yeah.
But they've got quite a weak top end of the division. I do think they've got some good tag teams in there, but I don't think it's far away. I just think they need a few more cruiserweights in there.
Agreed. I think Carrillo's clearly the future of 205 Live.
Yeah.
You can see it coming.
But they're doing exactly what I would do: stick them in a tag team and get them over that way.
Build them, yeah. Agreed.
So we get a promo from Mike and Maria, and Mike says he's looking forward to seeing Kendrick and Tozawa's friendship implode tonight. Maria says after tonight, Drake won't be able to deny Mike's greatness. Oney Lorcan also cuts a backstage promo and says this is the type of fight he likes after Vic Joseph accidentally speaks over the top of him in a rare production faux pas.
Yeah, it was strange.
Yeah. And then it was time for our main event. A weekly reminder that Mike Kanellis' theme is fantastic. It was
Van Halen.
Yeah, it was a fatal five-way match to determine the new number one contender, featuring Oney Lorcan, Mike Kanellis, Brian Kendrick, Arya Daivari, and Akira Tozawa. After everyone else has made their entrance, we get Sarah Schreiber asking Arya Daivari how he will respond to his loss on Sunday. Daivari complains about even having to be in this match and promises it is not over between him and Nice. Kendrick and Tozawa team up early to take everyone out. They then lock up but are quickly taken out by Kanellis and Daivari, who take control of the match as we see Nice watching on from backstage, standing like a non-human.
Why? What was he doing?
He was standing sideways looking at a television.
No one does that.
It is the most infuriating thing about seeing people watch stuff from backstage in WWE.
It's stand like a human being.
Yeah. But anyway, Daivari perches Tozawa on the top rope, and when Lorcan tries to get involved, he hits a super kick. Daivari then hits the Iconoclasm on Tozawa, who lands in a Swanton-style position on Lorcan. Daivari goes for the Hammerlock Lariat on Kendrick, but he counters into the Captain's Hook. Lorcan breaks it up and goes for the half and half, but Kendrick counters that into the Captain's Hook. Lorcan and Kanellis have a great chop off, but just when it seems like Oney has gotten the better of things, he runs straight into a spinebuster from Kanellis, which gets two. Lorcan fights back with hard Suzuki-style slaps and hits a blockbuster. He then hits the half and half on Kendrick, but Kanellis breaks it up. Daivari and Kanellis team up again, but Lorcan hits a double blockbuster on both of them, and then a Tope con Hello onto both before Tozawa takes all three out with a Tope Suicida. He hits a missile dropkick on Daivari and then counters the Hammerlock Lariat with a bridging German suplex for two. He goes up top for the senton, but everyone gets back in and we get a big move fest, leaving Kanellis as the only man standing. He goes to the top for a superplex on Kendrick, but it turns into a Tower of Doom, followed by Daivari hitting a Persian splash on Kendrick for a nice near fall. Tozawa manages to lock on the Iron Octopus on Kanellis. Maria gets on the apron and, like an idiot, because the referee wasn't even bothered, Tozawa lets go of the hold, and then Kanellis gets a near fall with the distraction. Aiden uses the word Jezebel. JR would be proud. Kanellis and Tozawa battle on the apron, and Akira hits a beautiful German on the apron, which will not have been good for Mike's back. Tozawa hits a Trouble in Paradise on Daivari, followed by the top rope senton, but Kendrick breaks up the fall at 2.9. Kendrick then apologises for breaking the pinfall up and offers his hand to Tozawa, but Tozawa hits him with the forearm instead. Kendrick hits sliced bread on Tozawa, but everyone jumps in trying to pick up the scraps. Daivari lays out Lorcan with a Hammerlock Lariat, but Tozawa recovers and uses a La Magistral Cradle to pick up the win over Daivari and become the number one contender. And Kendrick and Tozawa hug after the match. It was a nice main event, clearly built on the story of everybody wanting to be number one contender, with the undercurrent of Tozawa and Kendrick's friendship kind of being tested. But you know what?
It was great.
Tozawa won, and they were friends afterwards, and this was a fantastic main event.
And I cannot wait for Tozawa against Nice. That'll be unbelievably good.
So I thought it was a decent show this week. There was not much backstage stuff, just the promos to build up the main event. And the opening match was a bit meh, but the main event was great. So
really good episode of 205 Live again.
Good overall, yeah.
My favourite show.
And there's no any other business to cover this week, so we will move straight on to the final segment, which is all around Double or Nothing, because it is prediction time. And as we established on the Money in the Bank show, it's 5-all, so this is a crucial one. We're not doing Double or Nothing, by the way.
Should we do double points, though?
No.
Okay.
Should we do double points? It is the first ever show.
It is a biggie.
Let's do double points.
Okay, so you get
something
two.
Decided on air.
A
shock.
You get two if you
win. Yeah.
Okay.
So we will go through the crowd and take it in turns. So the Young Bucks versus Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix.
The Young Bucks.
For the AAA tag team titles.
I think the Young Bucks.
I'm going to go with Pentagon and Phoenix here.
Okay.
I know it's the Young Bucks show, but it's just with it being the AAA tag titles, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Cody versus Dustin Rhodes. I'm going to go Cody here.
I'm going to go Cody as well.
Yeah.
With like a handshake and a hug at the end.
SCU versus the
SCU.
OWE guys. Seema, T-Hawk and Lindemann.
Who
Who you got for this one?
SCU, I think.
I'm going to go OWE on
It wouldn't
this one.
shock me.
Yeah. You know what? This is a really difficult card to predict because we've no idea what their booking style is like.
No, we've no idea like where they're going to position everybody within the card.
And then we've got the women's three-way dance. Britt Baker versus Nyla Rose versus Kylie Rae. I'm going to go with Kylie Rae.
I'm going to go with Britt Baker.
Right, interesting. Yeah, it could go to any one of the three women.
This is going to be very different.
If they want to establish Nyla as the top heel, I could see them doing that. If I've gone with Kylie because I think she's got the most marketability, but Britt Baker's been doing a lot of their media work, so I could see it being her as well. So it's a pick 'em. So Angelico and Jack Evans versus the Best Friends. Who you got for this one?
Best Friends.
I'm going to go with Angelico and Jack Evans.
Have we literally picked the opposite of everything?
I think we
so
both
far?
picked Cody.
Yeah,
apart
we
from
did.
that. And then we've got Aja Kong, Yuka Sakazaki, and Emi Sakura versus Hikaru Shida, Riho Abe, and Ryo Mizunami. And if I've butchered anybody's name, I really do apologise. But apart from Aja Kong, I'm not familiar with any of these women.
Same. I'll probably go with Aja Kong's team just because I think that might be done for like a moment.
And I'm going to go with the same just because she's literally the only person out of the six that I know.
Yeah, I don't know Joshi very well.
And then we've got the two pre-show matches. So who have you got for the Casino Battle Royal? Do you want the entrants? That at least the ones that have been announced, because I've got them here if you want them listed.
I'll just go Adam Page.
Okay. I'm going to take a shot in the dark here and go with Jungle Boy
Okay.
and just see if they try and strap a rocket to him straight away.
Okay.
He's going to get a title match, whoever wins anyway. So we'll see on that one. And the other pre-show match is Sammy Guevara versus Kip Sabian. I'm going Sammy Guevara in this one. Who you got?
Sammy Guevara.
Yeah. So very different predictions than usually.
You've missed one out.
Oh, of course I have.
You've missed quite a big one out.
I've missed the main event out.
Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. Only a small match. Like, it's not that important.
Who you got for this one?
I think Omega. You think Jericho, don't you?
I'm really not sure how they're going to book this.
I think Omega.
I'm going to go with Omega as well because I think he's the top star in the company, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
And I
he
feel
is
like
the
you
star.
have to put him over in this match. But a lot of the build makes me feel like Jericho's going to win. That's
Wouldn't
the one
shock
thing
me if
that's...
Jericho won and he maybe was the first champ to get the company over. Wouldn't shock me.
Either way, we are super looking forward to this show.
And we have no idea where they're going with this.
Exactly. So we will be reviewing Double or Nothing in an episode that, what do you think, we're going to drop on Monday?
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah, because we'll be watching the show on Sunday after I've finished work.
And we're both off work on Monday, I believe.
So this should drop on Monday, and we will be covering Double or Nothing. We will be covering our predictions, and because we like to do a special final segment for pay-per-views, and since it is unfortunately just past 20 years since the passing of Owen Hart, I have decided that we will be watching Owen versus Brett from WrestleMania 10 and reviewing that match.
I had a feeling it was going to be something to do with Brett, with Owen, sorry, as soon as you said that. Yeah. That'll be awesome. Can't wait to watch that.
So we will be watching that on either Sunday or Monday, and we will be reviewing that on Monday as well as Double or Nothing. So check that out on Monday. But before we go, Jonathan, is there anything you would like to add?
Little RIP to Owen and...
Yeah. Sorry, we're out of time, and we will see you on Monday on the Two Man Booth.